What it is, what is up, welcome back to my channel. It's a wrap, aka Yudi here, and today we are talking about the books that I read in April and what I plan to read in May. So let's get into it. Okay, so my wrap up should be really brief because I really only finished one book this month, but there's two books that I got really deep into and I just had to let go because as a mood reader, it wasn't giving what I needed to give. And I think it's just literally like that genre or that realm of book I just needed a break from. So I'm probably going to come back and finish it, but as of now, it's a DNF. So let's get right into it. The first book I have is Dele, Weds, Destiny by Tomi Obaro. And this one follows three friends. Anytime, Zanab, and Funmi. They have been friends since college, but since the book starts in like the 80s up until the current moment of the I think 2010s, and it follows their friendship through the spans of those years. But in current moment, the three of them are coming together because Funmi's daughter Destiny is getting married to Dele. Hence Dele was Destiny. So, and in that we're getting where these three friends are at in the current moment. Anytime is coming to Nigeria and hasn't been to Nigeria since she left with her now ex-husband after meeting him while she was doing her residency, or she was like teaching, or she was teaching math. Anyway, she was teaching after university and she met him. Oh, should I give this away? I don't know if I should give that away, y'all, but just she ended up meeting this man, moved to New York. She hasn't been back to Nigeria since. And then there is Funmi. Funmi is married to, I can't remember Funmi. Is it Yinka? I think Yinka is her husband's name. But Yinka is I think he's this wealthy Yoruba man, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, she meets him, they get married, but he's kind of like the marriage of convenience. And then there is Zanab. Zanab is the friend that I think maybe has lost her oomph or has lost herself since like college and the fight that was in her. But anyway, she is married to a man named Ahmed who I believe has dementia or Alzheimer's. But anyway, he is unable to like take care of himself, so now she's fully taking care of her husband and her kids and her grandkids. And yeah, as we learn about all three of them and just like their past characters in youth and how they all supported each other in like their toughest moments, it's a really beautiful story about friendship, about the journey of self. And like it's interesting, especially I think where not where I think, but the three of them had some type of like fight or vivaciousness to them. And it's more interesting that the story is that they meet on this university campus in the 80s, where the historical setting of this book as well is the way these characters connect to, I think, the story of like Nigeria and like from thinking of the 80s to now, and the fight that these characters had and the rebellion and what that looks like now in present day as life has unfolded. Yeah, the parallels I think are just quite interesting, and I could definitely think about more, but am not going to get into in this video. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. The only thing that I didn't really enjoy was the ending. I think that there could have been more said about Destiny and her character, and the whole book is set or like the thing that brings them all together is Destiny's wedding, and I feel like she's kind of forgotten, and she's just kind of like thrown back in just as a way to give a bow to the story and wrap it up. There's more that could have probably been explored, even though I know she wasn't really the main point of this story. I think their friendship was the main point. This is a good book, and there was so much more that I wish that there was so much more that I wish was like expounded upon and explored. But either way, I still really enjoyed this read, and I would highly recommend you pick up if you haven't already. And then there's two books that I got pretty deep into and I didn't finish. The first one is Ready for War by Mel Dau, I believe. Dau is the last name. But this story is set in South Carolina. It follows War. I think his name is Warrior. But War and Blossom, who goes by Peace. And Peace has moved back in with her dad after feeling like she needs a change and feeling like her son needs some type of male figure in her life because her baby daddy ain't cutting it. So anyway, the son is just very rebellious and just she can't get a hold on this boy. So he ends up getting in trouble trying to steal stuff from Ward's shop, and somehow her dad kind of works out that he can work in that that her son can work in the shop, and in that the son builds a good relationship with War. She starts to build this relationship with War, and yeah, they just kind of start to form this relationship. And there was actually nothing wrong with this book. I would say I would highly recommend listening to the audiobook versus reading it. I just think I was urban fiction out, and that's pretty much it. And my mood had shifted, and I just couldn't see myself to the end. But I probably will pick back up the audiobook and give it a finish because I was pretty deep into the book. The second book that I started and did not finish was Front Street Porter. Front Street Porter, and it follows the Porter brothers and the patriarch of this family or this household. Hassan has died and he's passed it on to Lake, and Lake is just like this young boy, like he's a teenager. I think he's like 14 or 15, if that. And he takes over this drug business, and he's responsible for making sure that all his brothers are good. I think it's like 4 or 5 of them. It's 4 or 5 of them. So it's I think it's Rec, Vaunt, Dev. I can't remember the last younger boy. But the story, it gives an explanation of like how the Porter brothers, like their personalities, how they ended up being. It's like the beginning story of the Honest series, which is like 4 different books. But the main story really follows Vaunt and Ivy. And Ivy also comes from like this tumultuous home. She's been kicked out of her mother's because her mother really hasn't protected her. And she takes her sister Avery, and they're pretty much living on their own when she meets Vaunt. And Vaunt just really, they kind of connect because they both are these young people navigating the world without a real parental figure in their life, a real adult parental figure. And they just come together in this book. So I just, again, one, I was urban fiction out. 2, the Porter brothers are a lot. They're a lot. And they're not that great in relationship. Granted, Vaunt seemed to really care for Ivy, but he was still doing some effed up ish. He was doing some and the other brothers were too. And I just, my heart couldn't take it. I had to take a break. I had to sit the book down. But I also kind of wished I'm glad that I got like the background of the Porter brothers, but I kind of wish I just kind of jumped into Honest and did not read the story, because once I read that it's Avery and Lake who seem to end up together in the Honest series, now knowing the backstory, I was just like, dang, I kind of wish that Lake ended up with somebody not in this universe at all, like somebody completely outside this universe who had a more maybe stable, a more, I want to say traditional, but like, you know, had some type of parental figure, is, you know, just a little bit more grounded than Lake's character, and has just a little less traumas than Lake's character. I just wanted a relationship that did not involve trauma bonding. but maybe some more so healing, a space for healing. Not saying that Avery and Lake aren't going to heal, but they can't heal with one another. I just needed someone with not as much craziness, in their story. just coming in fresh, coming in with fresh eyes. So yeah, so that's why I kind of wish I went in blind, because I wish I went not actually really knowing anything about Avery or anything about Lake, so I can come in not prejudging. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm coming in prejudging now, and maybe I'll still read it anyway and I'll end up loving them together. But right now I'm just like, I'm gonna have to pause on this and just get in a different headspace to get into the series. So there we go. So those were the 3 books that I was reading this month. And let's get into what one I'm currently reading, what I plan to read in May. And it's a decent set of books. We'll see if I get through all of them, but 3 of them are library books. So usually I tend to get through the library books because, it's a limited amount of time. I want to read them before I have to return them. So the first book I have is Tar Baby by Toni Morrison. This one, I read Sula. I really enjoyed Sula. And I own a bunch of other Toni Morrison books. And I was just like, which book should I read next? And in the comments, Tar Baby was recommended as a really good next read. So I'm going to get into Tar Baby and I'll let y'all know next month how I feel about that. The next book I have is Where Sleeping Girls Lie, and I'm very excited about this one because I am doing a collab review with Miss Malcolm Hughes, her channel. So stay tuned. We are going to do a review together on this one. So yeah, I'm very excited to read this book. I read Ace of Spades. If it wasn't in February, it was in January. But I read Ace of Spades and I ate that book up. And I've already started dibbling and dabbling in this one. And I'm going to save my commentary, but just know that Miss Farida, she that girl. She that girl. Okay, the next book I have on my TBR, another book that I've already started dibbling and dabbling in, is Family Meal by Brian Washington. I forgot where I saw someone discussing this book, and the way that they described it, it just sounded like something that was very much up my alley. This story follows, so Cam, I believe he's lost his significant other and he's moved from Los Angeles back to Houston, where he meets an old friend named TJ, and just they both kind of unravel, unweave all the secrets and traumas and all that's kind of happened with over time. So yeah, I'm excited to get into that. Another book I picked up is, or that I have on my TBR, also picked up from the library, is Dear Haiti, Love Elaine. So I don't read too much YA, so I'm just not that well versed. But yeah, I'm gonna read this. The description is, so Elaine, I guess, pulls this prank that goes wrong, and then her parents end up sending her to Haiti. So that is that book. And then the last book is a book that everybody and mama knows. It's Yagasi, and it's Homegoing. I've never read Homegoing, guys. I've never read Homegoing. I've seen it so many times and I've always thought, let me pick this book up. And if you guys can tell, after I've done a wrap up and talked about American Marriage, the books of like the 2010s, I wasn't actively reading in the 2010s, so I've missed a lot of like the big black, I think, considered classics of that, era of the 2010s. So I'm working my way back and making sure that I read those books. So Homegoing, again, is one book that I actually haven't read, so I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna let you know how that goes. So yes, so those are the 5 books, I believe, the 5 books I have on my TBR. Let me know what you guys are reading for May. And again, I'm very excited stay tuned. I'm probably going to end up doing a community post, but Miss Malcolm Hughes, again, and I are doing a review together for Where Sleeping Girls Lie. So if you have your copy and you haven't started reading it yet, if you want to read it just so you can be in the know when we have our discussion, feel free to read along. And until the next time, guys, deuces.